Hello, I'm Pamela Davis. Welcome to episode 68 of the Well Done Life podcast. Hello, and welcome back to episode 68 of the Well Done Life podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Davis. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I definitely hope you stay for a while. If you've been here before, you know I rock with you heavy. Thank you so much for your continued support. It means the world to me. I know that there are lots of other wonderful voices out there. So I'm just really excited about being a part of your listening circle. So thank you again to everyone. Just so glad you're here. And kind of thinking about why you're here, because I want to make sure you're here and you know why you're here. The Well Done Life podcast is about creating space for women to come together, share our stories in a safe environment. That's what I started this for. I really felt like as I've gone through life, I've learned that when we give each other room to share our failures and triumphs, we inspire each other and we teach each other. And we do amazing things through all of that. So I hope that by creating a space where I'm sharing my journey to inspire you, that it inspires you to also feel comfortable enough to share your story and also gives you room to encourage someone else, because it's all about paying it forward here, one story at a time. And I am believing and praying for wonderful things for each of you. Which leads me into how I like to start off every episode. I'm one of those kind of people where I feel like you have to start with love and we have to set that intention. So this is what I want to make sure that we do. So I'm reaching out and sending prayers of peace, health, joy, and prosperity to everyone. I know the world is moving. The world is definitely moving. This has been quite a week. It is super busy. And I'm sitting here recording on Thursday night, June 10th at 11:13. So believe me, I know it's busy. And I know everybody's anxious to get back out in the world, myself included. You know, at this point, as we are trying to all live out our best panorama lives, all I can say is just have fun. Take care of yourself, but be safe, and make sure you continue to extend yourself and others grace about easing back out there. Because like I said, we're all stir crazy. I mean, we all want to get out. But there are a lot of people, myself included, that are just kind of feeling comfortable enough to stick a big toe back into the big pond of life. So don't feel anxious like you just got to go back and start doing all the things. And don't judge people who are out there doing all the things. I think everyone's just trying to figure out what works best for them. But so give yourself a break. Give everybody grace. Let everybody try to figure it out. Also, I would say just, again, take care of yourself. Don't forget, healthy eating is key because health is wealth. We have learned that. Also, washing your hands, still very, very key. Definitely resting, because I know you were all trying to live our best hot girl post summer, but still rest in between. Social distance when appropriate. Wear a mask when appropriate. And just try to make sure that you are making sure that you're making sure, not making sure, excuse me, that you are prioritizing good mental health. Because again, it's all about trying to live our best lives. But there are the pressures of going back into the world as we open. Pick up, give yourself balance, go out there and do all the things. But don't forget all of the things that we learned by having to sit down in COVID, that it's okay if we slow down a little bit. It's okay if we refocus our priorities a little bit to include ourselves and more time with our family, what have you. Balance it out, because remember, you are worth it. And you have to treat yourself accordingly. So, like I said, it's been a hectic week. It's been hopefully a good week for you all. I really wanted to take a moment to say I was so excited by the response to last week's episode, number 67, Possessing the Secret of Joy. I wasn't anticipating such a really strong response, and that probably sounds crazy, but I didn't know that everybody was thinking about trying to find joy as much as I am. And I love that, because to me that means that we're right where we are exactly supposed to be, because I believe that the universe gives you exactly what you need. You just have to be open enough to see all the signs pointing to it. So I'm really excited to see that there are so many people out here on this journey. And like I mentioned, I think joy is definitely what we need more of. And I think that it's one of those things where you kind of have to keep talking about it. And I'm going to link last week's episode in the show notes just in case anyone missed it, excuse me. But like I mentioned, I feel like you kind of have to keep talking about it. And after I recorded the episode, I was like, I'm really glad that everyone likes it, but I kind of felt like I left something out. Or better yet, like I mentioned, I feel like I should have kind of given you a little bit more detail about how this is going to go with joy, because I don't want this to be a one-hit wonder. It's not. I definitely think we need to continue the conversation, and I definitely think that it just has to continue to evolve, because finding joy is an everyday process. It really is. I'm sure a lot of you would agree that it is. It's hard to find joy because joy just feels so differently for everybody. Joy and happiness are similar, but they're entirely two different things and two different feelings. And it requires a lot of work and focus all the time to make sure that you are setting the intention for bringing joy into your life. So I want to make sure that I'm being very clear about it. And last week I felt like I was clear about, what it feels to me. And I think different things that you can do to recognize it. But I wasn't clear enough to me, or I didn't give you enough tools on how to make sure that you are translating that into your life and putting yourself on the journey. So that's what I want to talk about this week, because I want you to feel that feeling like I described it last week. For me, when I think about joy, it just radiates from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. It's that feeling of being content and blissfully happy to the point where my soul is engaged. So basically, it's everything. And I am going to help you, or help guide you this week on that journey, by getting clear about what it looks like for you. And when I thought about exactly the tips that I wanted to share, I instantly reflected on my own beginning of my self-awareness journey. And I've mentioned this before. When I was on that journey, I was at a point where I did not feel joy. Full stop. I didn't feel anything. I wasn't focused on joy. I was just focused on survival. I was really coming out, or still kind of in the trenches of my depression. And at that point, I just wanted to feel. I was functioning and I was going and getting a lot of things accomplished, but when I was thinking about it, it wasn't bringing me any type of happiness or joy to accomplish those things. It didn't matter. It was what I had to do, because my soul and my heart just weren't engaged. So that's what led me to therapy. And I know therapy, everybody has their different perceptions about it. We just finished in May, National Mental Health Month. But I really feel like, again, therapy for me, I know therapy for me was a game changer, and it saved my life, because I don't know how long I would have gone on doing how I was doing without having therapy. And I needed help pulling myself back. And I was very honest about admitting that. But it took me a minute. It's not an easy decision. But when I knew that I really needed help, when I had hit rock bottom and I knew that this was it, I definitely was not afraid to say, yep, I need somebody to come in there, because I need help, and I'm not going to be able to do this alone. And I want to make sure I say that, because I know that there are a lot of people out there that are not honest enough with themselves, or not comfortable enough being honest with themselves, to be able to say that they need help. They need therapy. So I want to start there, because joy, happiness, any emotion, it all starts and ends with you. So my first tip would be to check in with yourself. And when I say that you check in with yourself, I mean really take the time to ask yourself, is it time to bring someone in to help you deal with your feelings? And do you have a supportive environment to process any feelings that can be holding you back? And I'm going to repeat that again because I know that can be some real deep questions to ask yourself, but it really does mean when you are checking yourself, you get real about what you're feeling, and it is time that you ask yourself, is it time for me to bring someone else in to help deal with your emotions? And also, is it time that you process or look at this environment that you're in and ask yourself, is this environment supportive enough to help me process in the feelings that can be holding you back? Because you have to be able to be open to therapy in order for it to be something that's beneficial for you. Because it's not like you're going to go to therapy, and they're just going to magically tell you all the answers. My therapist was tough on me a lot because she was like, you're relying on the comfortableness of your dark feelings versus doing the work in some instances to get past your feelings or to learn how to better process. So there's going to be challenges when you're in therapy. There's going to be moments where you are really going to have to check in with your process of emotion. And you're also going to have to be very honest about being willing to change how you have been going through life. Because when you are definitely, or maybe this is just for me, I know for myself, I got really comfortable being self-deprecating. I got really comfortable talking negatively over myself. I got very comfortable with my mistakes, but I got very uncomfortable when it came to talking about all the things that I did well or talking about how I process my emotions. You just get comfortable in pain because it's the norm, it's what you expect, and you can mask it, you can do whatever is necessary so that you can function through life. But when you get clear, you recognize that obviously there's things that you need to get that change, and you make the steps to be able to do that. And that's why you have to ask yourself, you have to be at that point where you are willing and able and ready to receive that, because that's the first step of joy. That's the first step of happiness. That's the first step of understanding any emotion. What are you doing or need to stop doing that is contributing to the position that you're in? And if you cannot fix that on yourself, are you open enough to saying, you know what, it's time for me to bring somebody else in and go through the process of trying to find therapy? On the flip side of that, I did say you have a supportive environment to help you process those feelings. And when I mean supportive environment, I do mean, is your family or your friends, are they encouraging enough for you to be able to process your emotions with them? A lot of times we give our friends just certain sides of ourselves based upon what we feel they can handle. I think we do that naturally as human beings with any person that we interact with. But you also have to get to a point as well where you think about, some of the people that you allow to feed into yourself. And you understand that everybody is just not going to be able to be your sounding board. And that could be another reason why you need to go to therapy, because of the fact that that person is a third party. They are not as emotionally tied to you, obviously, as your friends or your family, and they can give you clear, objective guidance and support, because their main concern is making sure that you're okay, that you have what you need to process. Not saying that our friends and family don't have those same feelings about wanting to make sure that we're supported and cared for, but we also have to understand that our friends and family are also going through life, dealing with their emotions and their feelings. And sometimes it is very hard for us to separate our own feelings of how a person should react to situations versus what they need to do. So it can cloud the situation. That's why I said you have to make sure that you're in the right environment. It doesn't mean that, you don't have the right people in your space. You may not, but you possibly also do have the right people. It just means that you have to understand that your friends are not always going to be able to help you through this situation, because they're just dealing with life just like you, and everybody's trying to do their best. And there comes to a point sometimes when you're on the self-awareness journey and you're doing the work, that you uncover some things that are so heavy that that's just not something that you can place with someone else like that you may need to seek that third party. So it's not trying to be like an advocate for the soapbox of therapy, but it is. In a way, it is, because I want you to at least think about it and be clear. And therapy, you determine what levels of therapy you need based upon obviously the challenges that you're going through. I'm just saying, in order for you to move forward, you have to get clear initially with yourself about where you are in the mental health journey, where you are with dealing with your feelings and emotions and resentments, and how they're holding you back, and what you want to do to move past them so that you can invite all the joy, all the happiness, all the great things that you are trying to manifest into your life. And then, so that's number one. My second one is, I would also recommend that you get clear about what happiness, love, recognition looks like for you. And I know, again, that can be different to try to figure out. And like I mentioned in episode 67, when I did it, I leveraged one of the things I leveraged was the 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And again, this is a great test to help identify what makes you affirmed in relationships. And when I say relationships, I'm doing the air quotes like I mentioned before. It's the love, it's work, and family. And I'll make sure I link it again in the show notes. It's a great guide, because it can just help you get an understanding based on your frame of reference, what really speaks to your heart, what makes you feel affirmed in any situation. And it can also be something as a measurement of how you are progressing on the journey, because like I mentioned before, when I first started, my love languages were quality time was number one. Quality of time and words of affirmation were like neck and neck. Like I really needed that, which is true. I need undivided time, and I need someone to speak into me. And then like acts of service and physical touch, and then gifts. I were just all in that order. But when I recently did that, I noticed that had totally shifted. So I'm still more of a quality time person, but all of a sudden acts of service has risen up to be like my second, and then words of affirmation. And then the other two stayed the same. And I said, it really shows the progress that I have made in my life, as well as it also shows the situation that I'm in. As a caregiver, I feel sometimes very overwhelmed with certain things. So I always would love someone to do little small things for me, as well as be able to speak into me. So I need to make sure that your actions and your words match up. And that is very true in pretty much most of the situations that I have relationships in: business, love, work. It's all the same. Friendship. I expect that from people. So again, it's a great measurement point for you. So I definitely want to make sure that you at least have a guide that you can easily kind of get started with, and it's super fun. And it will help you be able to make sure as you're on the journey that you are showing progress based upon who you are, where at that particular point when you're taking it. And it will help you be able to communicate to others so that you can start to take those steps to manifest the things that bring joy and happiness into your life, because you can share that with your closest friends as well as your partner. So that way, and people, even maybe something could be done like that at work. There are other games too that are very similar that will help you be able to make sure that you're just being affirmed on all sides. So that's number 2. Number 3, which is one of my favorite, as well as one of the most challenging parts of all of this, is you have to put this into practice. That means that you have to be willing to take the steps to align yourselves with opportunities for joy and happiness. So you got to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to look at all the areas of your life that don't make you happy or bring you joy, and you have to start making adjustments, because it doesn't make any sense for you to be going to therapy, reading the books, doing the test, if you're not going to take a step and actually put it into work. And like I said, it's one of the toughest ones because I know what that's like. I have felt that paralyzing fear of changing it all up. But I know when that comes about, I remember the fact that I'm worth all of these changes that I'm making. I am worth joy. I am worth happiness. I am worth love. I am worth success. I speak into myself because I've started to learn the power that I have with I encourage me. And I know also, as someone who's a caregiver, when I'm happy, everyone else in my house is happy. I am the center of my universe with my family, and I have to make sure that I am constantly feeding into myself what I need so that I can make sure that my family succeeds. And that is something that you have to think about. And even if you don't have a family, you still have to do the work because you're trying to manifest great things. You can't have great things no matter how many books, how much therapy you do, if you do not put it into practice. And you got to bet on yourself and really take that chance to go out here and do something different so that you can own a whole, full, beautiful life that makes you happy. One thing that helped me when I felt like I was unsure of the journey was I found during this time a book by Shonda Rhimes, and I'm sure many of you have probably heard of it. It's The Year of Yes, where she details how she made the decision to not say no to anything for a year. And when I was reading it, she was really talking about her struggles to be a mom as well as a producer and a writer in Hollywood and have all of this success, while at the same time trying to make sure that her daughters were well taken care of, or making sure that she's making it to the PTA meetings with the good baked goods, and how she was struggling with that. And even though I don't have children, I still understand the struggles of trying to be everything to everybody. And I think we all do. As women, that's our natural ability. As humans, we are always, in some instances, trying to be everything to everybody versus being everything to ourselves. And so she made a decision to just not hold herself back, to not come from a place of negativity, but to come from a place of positivity. So she said yes to all these different types of things. And it was just amazing, she said, in this year, how her life changed. Because the more that you put out positive in the atmosphere, like we've talked about before, the more that the universe and God just gives it right back to you. And Shonda Rhimes is an amazing writer and producer. We know her from Scandal. She also does Bridgerton and has this huge Netflix deal. It's amazing the amount of things that she has been able to draw into herself while at the same time trying to struggle through life like the rest of us. And yeah, it looks a little different for her because she's got oodles of money now. But at the same time, the challenge is still there as women for all of us to try to make it through society and find our place and affirm ourselves and live our best lives. So I would definitely recommend that book as a resource, and I will definitely make sure I put that in the show notes as well. And along that line, when you're speaking over yourself, that brings me to number 4. And I've talked about it before. I'm going to keep talking about it again until you get it. You have to be your greatest cheerleader, because the path to joy and happiness, the path through life, it is not going to be easy. You are going to have friends, you're going to have family that just may not understand the journey that you're on. You're going to come across people who you're not able to engage with completely because they just don't understand the journey that you're on. And that's okay, because life is going to continue to happen. Encounters are going to still continue to happen. It doesn't mean that they're bad people, but you also have to understand that while you are trying to navigate through life and you're trying to be all zen and stuff, you've got to be able to deal with it without forgetting about this journey that you're doing. Because life and friends and negativity, all of that at times, it's going to be a distraction point. It is. It's just always going to be a distraction point. But you have to make your happiness and joy a top priority, even when it feels like the world is falling apart. Because you see, that's what I know I forgot when I hit rock bottom. When I hit rock bottom, I was so focused on making sure that my family was good that I just compartmentalized myself until I ceased to be a factor. I literally just stopped being a factor. I put everything off, I remember, during those times. All I was focused on was taking care of my family, making sure that they had everything that they needed. And I neglected myself for quite some time. I remember one day I was trying to walk upstairs in my house, and I literally remember my body. I had gained a lot of weight during that time, and my body was so sore and inflamed. I remember I could barely bend my knees and my arms at one day. I was just so stressed out, so overwhelmed. And I felt like I was going to have a heart attack because I was just filled with so much anxiety and stress. I had neglected myself, and it had just affected every area of my life. Let me tell you, it wasn't that I had people around me who weren't trying to encourage me. They were, but I just couldn't receive it. I just couldn't receive it because I was so caught up in the pain that I was feeling. I was so caught up in the depression. I just couldn't. And I wasn't in that place to be able to speak over myself. So you have to make sure that you align your mind to not allow that to happen. Because when you're your greatest cheerleader, you are constantly reaffirming yourself. Like I mentioned in a previous episode, you have to speak over yourself every day. That you let people know, I am a bad woman. I'm a bad bitch. I'm a baddie. Like I said, you have to speak over yourself every day to know you are so strong and powerful, because life is going to keep throwing those things at you that will make you forget who you are, because you're trying to do everything for everybody else, and you will wind up slipping, if you're not careful, into autopilot. And I don't want that for you. I really don't. So you have to make sure you stay a priority. That means if you need a break, you take a break. And that break can look like going for a drive. It can look like taking a nap. It can look like walking away and just coming back if you want to. It can look like checking yourself into a hotel for a night or two because you just need to recalibrate. It's as simple as a call with some friends or a cup of coffee with some friends. It's just all about allowing space in your mind for you to reset so you can speak life over yourself. Because again, you are your greatest cheerleader, because your mindset has to be so strong, so right in alignment, so that you can make sure that all the negativity that is around you, you can process through, because you know what you're bringing to the table. You know what your goal for your life is. You know that you can handle these things. And when it starts to creep up on you and makes you feel like you're not going to be able to make it, you can speak to yourself and say, you know what? I've got this. And I am equipped to do exceedingly abundantly great things. And I am going to make it through this trial. And I'm just going to believe in myself and encourage myself. Because when you are able to do that, you'll be able to make sure that the heart of you stays protected. And that needs to stay protected at all times, because remember, that's your source to your feelings. That's the source to your emotion. That's the source to your soul. So you have to be your cheerleader so that you can speak life over yourself every day and prioritize yourself. And just kind of like a little side piece to that, I know that that's not easy. I do. And it's very easy to forget to speak into yourself every day. Because again, we fall into the routines of life. But you should take a moment. That should be a part of your routine, be it at night or in the morning, or if you have a midday break. Whatever you do, you get a moment to yourself where you say, you know what, you're doing a great job today, and you're a bad bitch today. And you are doing everything that you can to make sure that everybody has what they need, but that you have what you need, and that you're feeling good. Because again, it's all about affirming who you are and making sure that you are being that cheerleader and staying strong. Because when you're speaking over yourself, you are taking that opportunity to just cultivate that space of positivity, that space of contentment, that space where those negative thoughts and feelings don't have any control, and you are giving yourself room to be able to experience happiness and joy and all of the wonderful things that you are trying to manifest. Well, and then that leads me to accountability, which is the fifth thing that I would recommend to help you on the journey to finding joy and happiness. And when I say accountability, is you have to hold yourself and others accountable when they violate your boundaries. And like we just discussed, in being able to be your greatest cheerleader and speaking life into yourself and being able to put it into practice, like we were speaking about before, and knowing exactly what happiness, love, and joy looks like, you getting clear about what your love language is, like we talked about in number 2. That means you have to be able to hold yourself and other people accountable when those things are violated. Because remember, you have the discernment to know when you are being disrespected. And it's not a matter of being disrespected in a rude way, because it doesn't have to be rude. But when someone is not directly, or is someone who is in direct violation of your goal, your happiness, your intentions, you have to be able to feel comfortable enough to hold them accountable. And that's not about trying to just create ways to execute accountability. It doesn't have to be that. When you have the right people in your life, you should be able to have conversations with each other that they always aren't the easiest, but they're laced with love and truth. Because your best friends, your friends who love you, your circle, your group, they want to know what makes you happy. And when they see you on the path, those people who really love you and understand you, they will support you as you are trying to grow, because real friends want each other to win. If you're around people who don't want you to win, then I'm going to be honest and say you might need to evaluate your circle altogether, because they're not the right people. But if you have those people in your life, that make you feel confident that you are safe and that you are comfortable growing, and that they're not intimidated or concerned by that growth, and they support and encourage it, then having conversations with love and correction should be easy. It should not be one of those crazy moments, because everybody, again, is there for the common goal of making sure that everybody wins, everybody is affirmed, and everybody grows together. And then when it comes back to yourself, it's not about being hard on yourself, because remember, we're our greatest cheerleader. We don't have to tear ourselves down. We're our harshest critics already. In order to make sure that we stay accountable, you just have to be able to check yourself and say, you know what, that just did not make me feel affirmed. And, I'm going to make sure next time I say something if that doesn't make me feel affirmed. Because I don't want to be in a situation where I know that if I don't check the situation, where I don't check the violation, it continues to grow. Because that's what I mean by keeping it being accountable. Because a lot of times, we're people pleasers. We're so comfortable making sure that everybody else is okay that we forget about ourselves. And like I told you, I don't want that for you. I want to make sure that you stay a factor. So you can't compartmentalize, when things happen that you're not comfortable with. You have to feel comfortable enough within yourself to be honest with love that didn't make you feel good, and you do not want a repeat of that, because again, you matter. That's really the heart of it. Like I said in number 1, everything always is going to begin and end with you. So you have to make sure that you are a strong factor in all of this. This is a journey. This is a life process. So you have to make sure you're constantly affirming and checking in with yourself as you're going through the journey. Because I would love to say that these 5 steps are all that you need to live a life filled with joy. I really would. But it's not. These are just some of the things that I think can get you started and help you be able to lay a foundation for yourself to be able to manifest happiness and joy. Because this list is not a magic bullet. And as we've kind of discussed before, this is an everyday commitment. And life is not going to make it easy for you to stick with this journey. But that's okay, because the feeling of being content and joyful is going to make up for every tough day that you have on the journey. You just have to be ready to claim it. And really, the ultimate thing that I would say to you is, are you ready for that? Because I'm believing for you. We're on this journey together. Like I've told y'all, I've been on this journey for a minute. And I will say one thing, as I have gotten further into it and I've become more consistent and more purposeful and intentional with how I do things in regards to my life, and it has been wonderful. Every year, I will say, has gotten better. It hasn't gotten easier, but the feelings of being able to know that I can bring this into my life, that I can manifest joy, that I experience it, it is amazing. And I want you to know that you can do it too. So that's what I have for you this week. I want to thank you for listening. I hope that these 5 steps give you a foundation to get started. It's not the easiest journey, but it's so worth it. And I really want you all to feel it, because you're worth it. I will make sure that everything is listed in the show notes. I definitely would love your feedback. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We're on all streaming platforms. And don't hesitate to reach out to me by social media or by email. All of that info will be in the show notes. I hope this wasn't too short of an episode this week. Definitely, I will be back next week. I can't wait. It is going to be hopefully a very special episode going into Father's Day. But again, like I said, don't hesitate to reach out. I look forward to connecting with you. All of my information will be in the show notes, and I'll be back, and have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.